I have a baking company that's home based. I'm registered with the state of Colorado, though, as a business. I'm a small business owner. My company is called DataCakes. My husband's a data scientist, and I like to bake, so that's where DataCakes came from. Um, I have been baking for it's 2024 since 2019, so it's been a while now. I had done like baking just for my family prior to that, but I started professionally baking in about 2019. I do everything gluten-free. I am gluten-free myself, not by choice. I love biscuits, so it would be nice if I could eat regular biscuits, but I eat gluten-free biscuits now. I have not been gluten-free my entire life. I have autoimmune issues, and this kind of stemmed from like just my body just being like, nope. And it decided that it was not going to properly digest gluten anymore.
Yeah.
So I have been gluten-free since about 2016. And I used to get very frustrated because everybody could eat cake and I couldn't. And then a lot of the gluten-free cakes at the time were pretty nasty. So that's what kind of encouraged me to decide to start baking myself. It started then, and it has just kind of gone from there. I do birthdays, weddings. I do all kinds of things ranging from like cake to cookies to just a wide variety of desserts. And I have really enjoyed that. Like, I think I really kind of got into baking, especially like during the pandemic. Like, I liked baking anyway. And my business started a year before the pandemic, but I think I kind of honed things during the pandemic as an outlet. It was nursing stressful. Like, you have to have something outside of just being a nurse. At one point, I like ate, slept, lived, and dreamed nursing, and that is all I did. And I feel like I fully lost my identity just being a nurse. Like, that's all I was a nurse. I was either just a nurse or a nurse and a parent, but there was so much that revolved around nursing that I got to the point that I did not have an identity outside of nursing. And it became depressing, like that, like this was it. And then when the pandemic happened, it was like, oh my God, this is it. So like having something outside of nursing, I feel like it helps so much, like mental health wise, for myself. And then I've also seen other nurses that have, pursued passions outside of nursing, and it has helped drastically when it's come to their mental health as well.
That's so interesting because I've talked before about how strong the nursing identity is. I've mentioned how we're the only profession that I see like bumper stickers of and cups of and t-shirts of. Like, my husband's a mechanical engineer. Never once have I ever seen a bumper sticker that says mechanical engineer. So it's such a strong identity to us. But at a certain point, it does start to become so over encompassing. And it's easy to let it do because we're so proud of helping people and we're so proud of what we do. And there is so much to be proud of. It is a really beautiful job to have. But if you go down that path too deep, I can definitely see how it can be a sad, sad place. I've always been blessed with way too many hobbies all of the time. So I've never dealt with just the nurse identity. I've always been the skier, the crocheter, the writer, and everything else. But it sounds like you were able to turn this into a really constructive thing, especially your gluten journey too. So that's really cool that that's how this all came about. Thank you for sharing that. I had no idea that it all started with a gluten intolerance. And I have seen some of the gluten-free products, and I would definitely start my own baking company too. So was it hard to get your own like baking company started? Was that complicated?
Like a lot of it started with like friends, like people that like I baked stuff for people at work all the time. Like anytime there was like a like let's say we were having a potluck, I would be like, oh, okay, well, I'll bake something because I wanted to get to the point that I practiced and kind of like honed my skill. And then it got to the point that like people were like, hey, such and such is having a going away party. Can you bake the cake? And these are people that were not gluten free, that were like, hey, we like your cakes better than the regular cakes we get from like different grocery stores and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and bake the cake. And part of baking also was I got tired of like going to events and stuff like that and not being able to ever eat the cake.
Yeah.
Um, because I love cake. So it was really hard, like going to people's wedding and not being able to eat the cake. So the first wedding I ever baked for was a coworker's wedding, and I ended up making her a 3-tier cake. Plus, I did a cupcake bar that had, I think it was like 7 different flavors of cupcakes, and they were all gluten free because
Wow.
I was like, I want the opportunity to eat cake. And I knew the groom's aunt was she had celiac. So I was like, you know what? I'll make your cake and I'll do your cupcakes. They had gone to local bakeries and done like cake tastings, and they weren't necessarily satisfied with some of the bakeries that they had gone to. And I do a variety of flavors too. So that's a big selling point as well, as I do non-traditional flavors. So they decided they wanted to utilize my services because they were like, hey, we have this aunt that is never able to eat cake at weddings or anything like that either. So I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and make your wedding cake. And then I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? Because I'd never made a wedding cake before.
Yeah. That's a tall order. The panic
So
sets in after.
yeah, it turned out really well. It was
Yeah.
absolutely beautiful. Everybody was
Oh,
just completely shocked at how well it did turn out. Um, I did watch some YouTube videos
of
because I was like, I have
course.
no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's
But
what
it was
YouTube is
like,
for.
oh yeah, for sure. I love YouTube. Like YouTube
Yeah.
has like helped out quite a bit in all of my crafting endeavors.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely worked out well. And then after that one wedding, I was like, you know what, I could do this more regularly. So I advertised quite a bit on Facebook. I set up a Facebook page. So I do have a Facebook page. So I set up the Facebook page, and then slowly but surely, like different people that had like craft fairs or things along those lines, or people that were specifically looking for gluten-free bakers, started reaching out to me. So I've done a lot of weddings all over the Denver area. I've done some weddings also in northern Colorado. Um, and that's kind of where things took off from. And like I said, I also do birthdays and like birthday cakes as well. So I've done like a wide variety of like just different events too, for different companies as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. I always think of the limitations of only being able to sell to your geographical area as
Mm-hmm.
someone that owns their own like digital digital product that I sell. But to in your case, it actually works out in your advantage because it sounds like there's not a lot of people offering the service that you have. And it's not like they can order a cake from New Hampshire and send it to Colorado. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're able to sell that service in a certain area, especially like with baking, with something that goes bad within like a few days, it's actually a really good selling point. So that's super interesting and something that I've never actually thought about before. That's cool. And I love that it was kind of like a stubborn, like out of spite, like I don't get to eat, so I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
make something really good.
I'm gonna
Um,
have cake.
yeah, yeah. One of my really good friends is vegan and she's been like that for a really long time. From a another health condition, and she has become one of the best cooks ever. And her mac and cheese is so good because that's one of the meals that she really, really missed making. And it's a meal I make all the time, and you literally can't tell that there's no cheese in it. It's like wild. And the sauce is made from like carrots and potatoes, and
Mm.
it looks like the color of mac and cheese too. Um, it's really, really good. So if anyone wants
I'll
that
have to
recipe,
get that recipe
yeah,
from you.
yep, let me know. It's really, really good. Awesome. And I love that you mentioned that you advertise on Facebook because
Mhm.
I had a feeling that it started with word of mouth and then went from there. But I also always wonder how someone that doesn't own like a storefront
Mhm.
sells their product. Because I could totally imagine me walking down in like Denver and like seeing cupcakes and being like, I need those cupcakes. But Facebook is such a good market for so many people. And I
Hmm.
keep hearing that time and time again, like Facebook, especially like Facebook groups,
Hmm.
or like town Facebook pages. I know some people sell baked goods on my town Facebook
Yeah.
page, and that's really popular. We're a sourdough town. Sourdough is very big
Nice,
there.
nice.
Yep. So that's my neck of the woods.
You would
Awesome.
be amazed though. I've had people that have contacted me, like they'll have family members that, are flying into Colorado from somewhere else and they'll contact me and they're like, "Hey, can you make me a cake?" And like I've made cakes and like had them delivered to people's Airbnbs when they've come from out of town. I've had so many people out of state that they're like, "Hey, my son goes to college out there. Is there any way that you can make a cake for him? It's his birthday and I'm sad he's not going to be home for his birthday." So I've done stuff for people that are in state. Like I've had people contact me from out of state to like deliver cakes places as well.
That's so wild. And that's cool too that you're celebrating these moments with these people in a way and you're like a part of that like celebration. So that's like a really lighthearted business.